Hello, everybody. Coach Jennie here. I have another guest for you to meet today. I'm so excited about this. I would like to introduce my friend Merideth. In fact, I'm going to have her introduce herself in a moment. She took part of the Get Out of Your Own Way coaching program a little earlier this year. And when I asked, hey, would you like to come talk about your experience? She said, yeah, she jumped on it. She was one of the first people to sign up for one of these interviews. So I'm so grateful. Merideth, tell everybody a little bit about who you are, where you are, what you're all about.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Jennie. And hello to everybody. So my name is Merideth Evans. I'm a senior director with a business process outsourcing firm. That's what I do, not really who I am. Who I am is more of an outdoor enthusiast. I have 2 children, many animals, so I spend a lot of time outside when I'm not doing the outsourcing thing.
I love it. Well, I wanted to talk to you specifically because there's a lot of people that when thinking about joining my program or any coaching program have all the same questions that you have. When you hired me, I was the first coach you had hired. Is that correct?
That's right. That's right.
So what made you decide to even look for a coach in the first place?
Yeah, that's a really great question, Jennie. So I think when I think back to why did I need a coach, right? So I've been a director in the corporate world for a very long time. And I was really trying to figure out, how do I get to the next level? I am a bull in a china shop. I am not a lot of fluff. I am, pretty direct. And that sometimes in the workplace is really difficult. And I started to really doubt myself. Could I go to the next level? Could I be a VP? Could I be a CEO? And so for me, it was about trying to connect with somebody who could help me literally get out of my own way, right? I mean, I knew I was in my head and I needed to get out and get it on paper, have somebody guide me through some way. And so that's when I went out looking for a coach and I found you.
Yeah, I love that. Now, it wasn't that simple though, right? And this is one of the things that I think a lot of people don't feel empowered to ask for this. But one of the things you wanted to do was to talk to some of my clients. You hadn't worked with a coach before. You didn't know what to expect. You were talking to all these coaches and, we're going to give you our pitch, but you wanted the real deal. So I connected you to, I think, 3 of my clients, somebody who was currently in the program and 2 people who had recently finished the program. So you would have a variety. Tell me a little bit about how those conversations went. And this is terrifying, by the way, to ask this, but tell me how those conversations went. And, what was it that they said or that you experienced that made you decide to pull the trigger and go?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think for me, definitely, I wanted to speak to some of your clients because I was like, this is an investment. It's an investment in myself, but I want to make sure that I'm making the right investment, right? Mm-hmm. And so I was thrilled when you said that, you would hook me up with some of your clients. I was asking questions on like, what did you get out of this? How did you feel afterwards? How did you feel going in? Do you feel like it made sense? And I just got a ton of sincere, very sincere, right? Like, Jennie will not tell you what to do, but she will guide you to answering yourself. Jennie will make sure that you are staying on top of your program. Like, she will help hold you accountable. And I thought, and those were a couple of things like, okay, accountability, that's my middle name. I love that. And then the other thing was just that compassion piece, right? Is that I really, that screamed through in talking with your clients about like how compassionate but also accountable that you are with folks. And so for me, that was important, right? I knew even as a senior leader that I needed some compassion, right, to be kind to myself, but also to be held accountable, right? Like, it only works if you work it type of thing.
Right.
So those were really some of the things that helped tip me over to absolutely decide to go with your coaching program.
I love it. And it's very vulnerable to be like, okay, talk to everybody else. But one of the things I'm really proud of is that anybody can talk to anybody. And now you're paying it forward of now telling your story of your experience in this program. So what have you been able to do since getting out of your own way, which is kind of a big generic question? You had talked about how finding your people in this community, in this program, really helped, because it was a group of people that weren't your friends and family. They weren't your colleagues. You didn't see them every day in your normal life. They were complete strangers. Having that space, let's start there. Having that space and these people and this bit of a sisterhood while you were there, it was all women. Tell me a little bit about that experience and how that helped.
Yeah, that was actually huge. And I don't think I knew the benefit of that when I first came in, right? So I think you hit the nail on the head, right? When you talk to your friends, when you talk to your family, they are your biggest advocates. They are your biggest cheerleaders, and they are going to tell you how effing awesome you are all the time. Even though, deep down it's like, yeah, but I know I need to change some stuff, right? Like, even when you think about colleagues you work with every day, when you're a strong personality, and even, I guess, if you're not, people, I think, are hesitant to give you feedback. And I loved getting the feedback in those sessions, right? It was unbiased. It was just based on whatever question I was asking. And as time went on, right, like as the group gets to know your personality, then even the feedback becomes even more candid, right? And for me, leadership is all about candor. And so I'm getting all this great feedback. And I even found myself becoming more and more vulnerable. And I think that's an important thing, is that for me, I had so many walls that I built up, right? Like being a corporate woman and trying to get in there and do my thing, the walls go up, right? And so for me, it felt like a very safe place to be vulnerable. I shed many tears. And I'm just not that girl, right? Like I said earlier, I'm not the fluff girl. And so it really was a place where I felt safe to really talk about the insecurities or whatever it was that I had going on, whatever business venture I had going on, and I really love that, right? Like, I can't emphasize enough. It felt like a safe place to be vulnerable.
It was, and it was also a safe place for you to reciprocate. One of the things that everybody talks about that worked with Merideth is how much you reciprocated and how you would give that no bullshit response too. When they said, just give me a shove, you would give them a shove. And so it reciprocates, and that's really powerful. But you're right. It was a space that you can be vulnerable and get that support in a different context than all the other spaces in your life, right?
Absolutely. Take the mask off and really
don't have to be professional.
Right? That's right. That's right.
Right. Professionalism is unnecessary in the program. I mean, except for me, obviously.
Obviously.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about what you feel you've taken from this experience. How has it impacted you professionally?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So Jennie knows, but for the live audience, so I was seriously considering changing jobs when I first started the program. Matter of fact, I think I took my first call from lovely Guatemala, where I was busy doing my outsourcing thing. And I think what the program helped me do is I think inherently we all know what we need to do, but it was the shove. It was the getting feedback like, no, that doesn't sound right, or yeah, that makes perfect sense, right? And so, not that I hadn't been able to make some of those decisions in the past, but I think the program helped me to make that decision. It helped me to get grounded on what was important to me, right? Like, what were things that were not negotiable? I mean, I don't think, even as a senior leader, I don't know that I was really able to, I can knock the shit out of my professional goals. But on a personal level, like, I never had stopped to think about, what is it that I really want, right? Like, what does that vision look like for my life? Other than just, reaching the top of a corporate ladder and making somebody else really, really rich. Yeah. What were the things that I wanted to do for the rest of my life? And then what would it take to get there, right? Like, so a lot of times, I think we can all dream big, but then how do you really put those things in place? So it really has helped me to push forward in my professional career. I made the huge leap to a new job. And even though it's within the same realm of what I've been doing, entirely different position than I've done in many, many years. So it's been very, very challenging, but so rewarding. So glad I did that. And I think it started to help me set up what does now my 10-year plan look like, right? So now the program helped me really get to a solid 5-year plan. But the 10-year plan is really, quite frankly, is to get out of corporate America, right? And I think that's what I really took from these people, these women that I was connected to going through your program, is that they're starting gyms, they're speaking at large conferences, and it really got me thinking about the impact that I can have on the world. I mean, if I could, I kind of walked away with kind of a mantra, if you will, is that well-behaved women rarely make history. Right? Yeah. And that was kind of my mantra coming out of your program.
I love that. It was so fun and gratifying to watch you show up week after week, working through the decision of making this big leap. And we co-created a way for you to make decisions, right? Like a new way to approach decision making with your brain and a little less with your gut, but not ignoring your gut and trying to figure out the Merideth way of making decisions moving forward so you don't get completely stuck and hang out with Hilda for too long, overthinking it, what-ifing it to death. And that made a big difference. It was really fun to watch that. And it was even more fun to watch the community who, again, we don't have a stake in what decision you make, but it felt like we did, right? Like we were cheering you on every step of the way and we could see all the possibilities. And it was so exciting that you were still in the program when you made the decision and you started the job, and we got to be part of that. So thank you for that. That's such a fun ride to be able to go on with somebody.
Yeah, that was fabulous.
Okay, so what did you learn about yourself? You kind of touched on that about the well-behaved women thing, but what do you think you learned about yourself by tackling your inner naysayer face on? What do you think that how has this process made you a little different?
I would say the inward confidence to match the outward confidence that everybody else sees, right? So I think, when I would ask friends and colleagues, they're like, what do you mean you don't feel confident about getting up in front of 1,000 people? Like, we see you do it all the time. And really what I gained from the program was that inner confidence, right? Because I knew through your program, how to deal with the inner naysayer, right? Like, your program really helps to put things in place that you can lean on in those times where you feel really, really uncomfortable. I talk to executives all the time, right, of Fortune 10 companies, and every time it was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to talk to this guy, or I'm going to talk to this girl. Yeah. If you think about, like, I'm going to go talk to, Sarah Sandberg, right, who wrote, Lean In, like, what am I going to say to her? But now it's really about, I have that inner confidence that I can sit at the board table, I can sit at whatever table, and Merideth is Merideth, right? And it's okay if you don't like her. And I think before the program, even though I had all of this exterior confidence, all of that, it was draining. And through the program, it is no longer draining, right? I have very set rules of engagement. I know how to beat back Hilda with, my broomstick or whatever it is that I'm carrying around that day. So that was probably the biggest thing for me, right? Is just getting that, outer confidence to match the inner confidence, or vice versa, I think.
I know what you're saying. I think that's so true. I think so many of us have figured out how to fake it till we make it, but then we don't get to the make it part. We just fake it, where we have the outward confidence that you need to be a professional, and you are going through life and you figured out how to trick everybody into the fact that you seem to feel good about what you're doing because you're competent, you're doing a great job. And so then everybody praises you, but if you don't feel like that in the inside, that dissonance can just make you crazy. And then that's where you're battling Hilda all the time. It's where imposter syndrome festers. Right. And so we were able to squash your imposter syndrome like a bug by building out, I love how you put that inner confidence that matches the outward confidence. And I imagine, it's probably hard for you to see, but I imagine the people around you have seen a growth in your outward confidence too.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't, I think my husband more than anybody, because he sees me more than anybody, I think would be interesting, right, to interact with some of my old colleagues, right? I really haven't, 4 months into the new job, right? So I haven't really interacted with them too much. But I really think that my new organization is getting a much stronger version of Merideth, right? That imposter syndrome's gone. I know what I'm capable of. And hopefully, it matches, right? Like, I no longer worry. I feel like I have nothing to lose now, right? Like, the possibilities are endless.
I love that. I love it so much. So it was challenging and kind of scary to sign up for this program, but obviously you're glad that you did. If there's somebody out there sitting on the fence thinking about booking a call with me to decide whether or not I'm the coach for them, what would you say to them to help nudge them off the fence and book the free call?
I suddenly have an urge to just like pull my laptop close to my face and say, just do it! Just do it! Yes. But on a more serious note, right? Like I think if somebody was sitting on the fence is you are worth the investment, right? You are enough to deserve this investment. I think that's a tough thing for anybody, right? Is to make that investment in yourself. And I'll talk from a woman's perspective for a second, is that, you don't hesitate to buy $100 or $200 pair of shoes. You don't hesitate to go and have a facial and a massage. And come on, girls, that we all know that that's going to be a couple $100, right? So if you kind of add up in a year what you spend on those things to make you feel better, the reality is, those things are temporary, right? Like that massage only feels good for about another day and a half, right? And I think for me, it really was, I would say, make the investment in yourself. You're worth it. And you have nothing to lose, right? Like I would almost say, I can't really guarantee your product, but I'm going to say I would guarantee you walk away feeling like every cent was worth the investment you made in yourself.
Thank you for that. Yeah. Investing in yourself in coaching feels luxurious, or that's not even the right word. It's hard. It's just hard.
It's really hard, right? Like after you kind of get through high school and college, and then you think like those were the investments, right? In myself. And I think, it's a journey, right? Like a continuing journey. And I'm so glad that I took the first step, right? And scheduled a coach, got with a coach. But I think that life really needs to be about a continuous learning journey, right? Like it's not I made it through this and then I made it through that and then that's it, right? Like I'm home free. The world is ever changing. I think as a woman, we have to continue to figure out and help the world to change so we feel that balance, right? But I would say even for men, I think it's important, right? To be vulnerable, to be who you are. And I think more and more, whether you're an entrepreneur and you're doing it for yourself or you're working out there in corporate America, at the end of the day, we're all people. And I think this program helps you to become a people again, a person, a whole person, right? That you feel like you can move forward. So I would say anybody on the fence, make the investment in yourself, right? Like you will not be sorry.
Thank you. I love that. I think it's so important that people hear that from somebody else who hired their very first coach. I think that's really powerful. So for anybody watching this and wants to know more about that investment, my prices are published. You can go to bit.ly/meet Coach Jennie to book a call with me. If you go to coachjennie.com and you click on the button for coaching, you'll learn all about the 9-week program we're talking about. It's called Get Out of Your Own Way. You probably noticed. And this 9-week program includes course material with a really, really fabulous workbook. I will say I love my workbook. Group calls and one-on-one time with me, as well as a secret little Facebook group that becomes this wonderful tool for everybody to stay connected. So the first step, though, is for you to book a call with me. You can't go to my website and just say, here's my money, I'm joining. I really want to make sure I work with people that I know I can really help. People like Merideth, who I know are ready to really deal with their inner critic, be held accountable, have their feet held to the fire, and do the personal development and professional development that you need. So I hope you'll check it out. Merideth, if anybody wants to connect with you, how do we follow the next stage in your journey? You're not a solopreneur yet, so you don't have like a business page and all of that stuff. But if somebody wants to connect with you, is there a way for them to do so?
Absolutely. People can find me on LinkedIn, Merideth Evans, in San Antonio, Texas.
Awesome. I love it. And I'll drop that link below. Merideth, thank you so much for doing this. This is amazing. And I've said this a million times. I can sell this program and tell everybody about how great it is, but nowhere near as well as somebody who's been there, done that, lived through it, got the t-shirt. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. No, my pleasure. And I really hope more and more people take advantage. Jennie, you are a true gift and you have a true talent. So I wish you all the successes in the world and definitely on my refer list.
Thank you. Likewise. All right, my friends, thank you for tuning in. Talk soon.